What up, what up, what up, what up? It's me, Teddy27.
Good as night, right about the hood.
Oh, dear God, I'm already eating a drink.
Look a damn mess, just a damn mess. No means no, and yes means no. What up, 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 what up? What's good, people? What is up, what is up? What's up, people? What is up? It is me, I'm Teddy27. I am back for another review. This is going to be our review, ladies and gentlemen, for Queen Sugar. It is season 5. This is episode 2. I wrote episode 1 on my notes. It's episode 2, and it is entitled Mid-March 2020. We got so much to discuss. I got so many notes. And the thing about it is, I'll have let's say if I have 4 pages of notes, that really means I have 8 to 9 pages of commentary. And I have 12 pages of notes, which means really in my brain about 24 to 30 pages of commentary in my brain. But I'm going to try and keep this as short as possible, knowing that it ain't going to happen. Anyway, I always, and let me start the review by saying, I read every comment. I don't respond to every comment, but I enjoy your comments. Please leave your comments, commentary, or your own views and vantage points of what you saw. If you disagree, I welcome that. If you agree, I welcome that as well. But I love to see the interaction and engagement in the comment section. And thank you to everybody who does comment, because I don't ask people to like, I don't ask people to subscribe or anything, but I do like and ask for you to comment. So if you could do that or continue to do that, I really appreciate it. So let's get right into it. We got Darla and Ralph Angel there at home, making wedding plans and, picking out invitations for the engagement party and stuff and the wedding and stuff like that. So they're full swing ahead into preparations and planning for this wedding. I loved the part where Darla asks Ralph Angel where he wants to go for, I need to change that battery for the fire detector, because that beeping is going to get on my nerves. It just started this morning. Dear God. Anyway, y'all know I get sidetracked. Anyway, but Darla asks Ralph Angel about where he wants to go for the honeymoon. And I love that she says, listen, I'm picking and choosing everything for the wedding of my dreams. You at least should be able to pick and choose everything you want for the honeymoon of your dreams. And I love that she, said that. And he talked about going to New York because he'd never been there. He wants to go to a big Broadway show. Child, you could tell he's a country bumpkin. You know what I'm saying? And so he's all excited about that. I mean, he country. So they start to talk about some of the things that's going on and some of the things going on with the farm and how they're trying to, steal their joy and take their joy. And they're like, no, we're not going to let nobody take this away from us. We're not going to let anyone or anything steal our joy. So then we see Charlie. She goes to meet up with Parker at Parker's offices or whatnot. She gets there and the receptionist is there. She says, listen, Parker's she's not here. She cleared her schedule. She's gone. And Charlie's like, wait, what? Excuse me? Baby, Charlie undressed that white lady receptionist. I was here for it. Y'all know white women got it coming for a long time, just as much as white men. But the way Charlie undressed her, said, girl, this is very unprofessional. Like, girl, this is so, girl, what kind of substandard, subpar, business are y'all running here? She was like, mm-mm. We're not here for this. And but the lady said she's not here. I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna have to meet with her or call her or something like that. But she cleared her whole schedule. So she out. So then we see Charlie is on her way to her car, and she calls Nova to tell Nova, about what just happened, and the fact that she's not going to be able to meet with Parker and stuff like that. Alexander the Great's, that's what we're eating. And so Nova tells Charlie that, since she have a free hour, she should take this time to do something for her, go out, maybe get a pedicure or go just do something to enjoy yourself and enjoy who everything, because she never really gets to do that. So, Charlie is like, nah, I'm going to go to work. I'm going back to the office. I got shit to do. I'm going. Nova talks to Charlie then about going to this Klan meeting. White boy cops granddad's birthday party or whatever. And Charlie reminds her, listen, no matter how much they go sideways and they go left, maintain who you are. Keep it together. Keep it in order. So Don't let them take you out of character. And at this point, I marked on my notes that there was a lot of foreshadowing, a lot of, hey, these things are about to go down, a lot of foreshadowing here and of things to come, not only um, for the episode, but I feel like this entire episode had more foreshadowing of the season than the first episode did. If you really go back and look, there was a little bit subtle, covert amounts of foreshadowing in episode one. But episode two, they really were laying down the groundwork and the foundation for the plot and main conflicts and so forth throughout this season. So then we see Hollywood and Mr. Prosper. They're at the spot that Hollywood is trying to open. And I noticed Mr. Prosper this episode doesn't look as spry as he did last episode. He looks weak. He looks as if he's sick or ill, and he looks his age. And so Mr. Prosper talks to Hollywood about how great of an idea this is, and how when he was young, him and his friends and stuff like that, they used to all hang out at his house and stuff like that. And Hollywood said, "Well, what happened?" He said, "Well, and for lack of a better term, life happens. Whenever things start to go good and everything's going well, and you think everything's going to be good, something always comes up, and now it interrupts the groove. It stops what you have going on, and it puts a halt to everything." And he said that's just a part of life that I've learned to get used to. So they then start to discuss the virus and the stuff that they're starting to hear about the virus. And Hollywood reassures Mr. Prosper, who seems to be a little fearful about it, that listen, you got all of St. Joe behind you, and we're not going to let anything bad happen to you. And so, like I said again, a lot of foreshadowing. So clearly, they're setting up something where he is probably going to either come down with COVID, or he is going to be gravely affected by it. We did see Blue teaching Darla to play chess. I loved this interaction because so many times, especially in a lot of black households, and I'm not going to just say black households, but in households, period, it is a parent's job to instruct, to edify, to educate a child. But there are a lot of instances between parent and child where these roles are reversed, where there's this generational edification that takes place, where the child is teaching parent, and the child has an opportunity to flex his little, muscles in terms of expanding the knowledge of base of his parents, and expanding his own knowledge base, because one can always say when someone can teach you how to do something, they've gotten to the point of mastery. Is one thing. A lot of people say mastery happens at the application of a certain skill set, or of the application of a certain ability or knowledge. But real next level, upper echelon level of education and learning happens when it goes from just sheer application to instruction and teaching on how to do that thing or that bit of information and so forth. So it was really nice watching Blue teach his mom that. And you see this a lot of times in households where kids will have to teach their parents the newest technology or some new app, and the child always goes, "Oh, it's so easy. Let me just show you." Boop, 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 boop. And the parent is looking like, "What? I don't know." But I love this little interaction. As much as people give Darla flack, and as much as people don't like Darla and Ralph Angel together and so forth, I've always liked Darla. I don't have that much of a problem with Darla as other people have. And I also like this family unit. I love the fact that they're showing this family unit, the fact that they have been vulnerable, the fact that this family has had moments where you just didn't know what was going to happen. It wasn't all, a bed of roses between mom and the mother and the father, and between the child and the mother, or the child and the father. And so all of these dynamics should be explored, because that's real life. It's not all, a bed of roses. You have, and a lot of people have to grapple with and realize sometimes it's the pathway you take. Happiness is not comfortable. It doesn't look good to everybody. People may be saying, no, that's not the path for you, when actually it is. And even though you take the long way around, or you take the road less traveled, or the more dangerous road, you do get there. And a lot of times those same naysayers have to come back and say, you know what, that was meant for you all along. We then see Darla telling Ralph Angel about this new position that she may be up for in a managerial area within her particular job, and she has to interview for this. So she's really nervous about it, and she's tentative about things like this, having had all of the experiences that we know she's had in her young life. And so she's self-conscious about herself and who she is and so forth. And that's so funny because you couple that with how I talked about last episode, Ralph Angel kind of finding his voice and finding himself and stepping into manhood. Notice how his whole tone of voice is completely different this season. He has this deeper, more masculine voice about him. I don't know if he went to go take vocal classes or whatever than he's had in previous season. There is the much more rough hardening of the beard, and you see that about Ralph Angel. So he has this confidence about him, whereas Darla still is tentative and self-conscious. So this whole duality and yin and yang with those two, that dynamic is really nice. I mean, besides the obvious, the light, the dark, so forth and so on. The one who grew up with both parents loving them, whereas there's the one who had, childhood issues, just all the whole duality of it and how they complement each other. We then see Charlie at her office, but Ralph Angel reassures her and said, "Girl, you got this," and like a true, boyfriend should. Hey, you got this. You're going to be great. He does nothing but encourage and uplift her and tell her she's going to be great. We then see Charlie is at her office and she's on the phone with some guy named Tariq, who, he's her eyes and ears at the airport and probably at other places when she needs to get information that she can't get from other people. You have people you can call and put eyes and ears on stuff that you don't have access to. So she calls him and he gives her the background on what happened with Parker. He said, listen, she left very abruptly. She didn't even take check back. She just took an overnight bag and it was a one-way ticket. So it appears that she left in a hurry. It was some type of emergency situation where she had to get out of there. Now, Charlie said, I appreciate it. Thank you for taking time. And he was like, listen, I'm looking for stuff to do because the airport is really scarce with regard to passengers and traveling because people are starting to get concerned and nervous about the pandemic and this virus that's going around. And less people are traveling and more people are staying inside because they are becoming more fearful and afraid. Micah then calls her. And Micah is homecoming week, and Micah has Charlie, and Davis, his dad, coming, and he says, "Are you coming? Are you coming? Are you coming?" She says, "Yes." He says, "Meet me in the quad. I'll meet you there, and I'll see you." And I immediately knew it's probate. They're about to have a probate. He's about to come offline. He wants to show his mom and dad. So she says, "Yeah, I'll meet you. Me and your dad will both be there. We'll meet you in the quad." I shouldn't have put this in my mouth while I'm trying to talk to y'all. So then, Nova and White Boy Cop arrive at the clan meeting, the granddad's birthday party. The family seems to be very inviting and welcoming with Nova. They seem to ingratiate her into what's going on very easily. There wasn't no smoke. There wasn't no pressure. Everything seemed nice. She met the granddad. She met the mom. She met his little daughter or whatnot. Now, mind you, put a pin in. When they talked about this earlier, he said, well, when Charlie and Nova talked on the phone, Nova said that he told her that his younger daughter would be there, but his older kids probably wouldn't be there because they're off in school or whatnot and so forth. So Charlie is at we then see Charlie at Ralph Angel's house, and Darla is there with Charlie, and Charlie is kind of coaching her on how to approach the interview for this new position, and different tactics that you can have with regard to attacking an interview. And a lot of people need this. I'm glad they inserted this. It could have been left on the editing room table, but I'm glad they inserted this because there's a lost art in the skill set it takes to truly have great interviews. Some people just haphazardly just take for granted, oh, if I go there in a fierce outfit and my resume looks pretty, I'm going to get the job. I can say a couple words and it's good. That's not, there's a real skill set. There's a real ideology and mindset with regard to interviewing. And it's really a lost art form I see on a lot of younger people when it comes to having a great interview. There is a definite skill set for that. So I love that she just, that they talked about this and we see a little more of this later. So something Charlie said that I really liked when she said, quote, sometimes you have to be fierce out loud, end quote. And I liked that quote. We then see Hollywood back at the spot that he's trying to get ready and open. And Vi is there. So he calls Ralph Angel and says, "Hey, where you at? I thought you was gonna be here to help me." And so him and Ralph Angel have this little back and forth about white boy cop, and they laughing and joking and stuff like that. So after he gets off the phone with Ralph Angel, who says he's gonna come over, but I surprises him with this sign that she had made up for the spot, and they make plans with each other for later that night. Um, I think she had a bottle. It looked like a bottle of Rio Niti. Now you got to be old school. They still make Rio Niti now, but Rio Niti used to be a popular wine back in the day. It was a cheap wine, but it was a popular cheap wine back in the day, back in the like 80s and 90s. And so I think that's what the bottle was. I'm not sure, but when they looked at the bottle and the name of the bottle, they were like, "Yeah, that took me back." So, but it looked like a bottle of Rio Niti. Don't ask me why I could identify a bottle of Rio Niti. Do not ask me that, but that's what it looked like. So, and they're talking about how they're going to, wax nostalgic and reminisce about their first date, and he gonna fix up the spot and have it all nice for her and everything. So, Charlie and Davis, they go to Micah's school, and Micah is at Xavier, and Micah's nowhere to be found. Charlie and Davis are there at the quad, and then there's this probate for Zeta Zeta Beta Gamma. I think it's Zeta Beta Gamma. And there's this probate, and so forth. They got on the masks, and they have the first person come out. Now that kind of confused me because normally Micah seemed to be the shortest on that line, so he should have been the number one. So he should have been the first to come out. But I'm not gonna, get all bogged down into the, fine minute details. Um, when he introduced himself, he was the second person. Shout out to all my Deuce Clubs out there. Deuce Clubs. I'm a Deuce Club. Anyway, he looked my Davis and Charlie, they first had this look of, because they were like, well, where's Micah at? Why is he missing this? I wrote down, they had this first look of shock and surprise, and then there was almost like an anger, not like a heavy anger, but there was um anger is not the right word, and I'm a man of words, and I should have a word right now that should describe it. I don't, because my mind just went blank. Because your mind does that when you need a word. Anyway, but the shock and surprise wasn't on the happy side of being shocked or surprised. It seemed, especially from Charlie, to be not so happy. I do think, and let me insert this here, and I'm going to talk about some of the things about the whole fraternity thing, but I think there were a lot of missed moments with this. There were a lot of places they could have went, a lot of things that they could have addressed. I will say Xavier is an HBCU. Um, is it? Yes, yes. But this didn't feel like a regular HBCU homecoming. It seemed a bit modest, a bit, too. That didn't even seem like a PWI homecoming. It seemed like, I don't know what it was. It seemed real. It seemed like a regular day on campus. It didn't seem like nobody's homecoming. Anyway, the excitement and the feeling that Micah had when you come offline, and remember how excited he was when he told Charlie and asked Charlie if she was coming. And you want everybody you love to be there when you have your probate. You want them to see you come offline. You want them to see this big monumental moment. And I'm sure him looking at the face of his mom and his dad, and that face that they had was not a happy face. It was the face of, oh, okay, oh. And so then you saw Kiki. Kiki is way across the quad on the other side of the quad at one of the tents talking to some dude, and they seem to be all up in each other's grill. And Micah sees that, and right after that, at the end of the probate, you start strolling and stepping, and girls come and dance on you if you're in a frat and stuff like that. So that's normal, but what Kiki got going on is not normal. Now, see, the dynamic that they're going to have to contend with is, and they didn't explore this as much because I feel like they rushed it and just forced us. We already at probate. We didn't really see none of him being online. We didn't really see none of this process because there's a real dynamic if you are online and you are in a relationship because you don't belong to pledging. You belong to the frat. You ain't got time to be having a girlfriend. You really don't have time to go to class, but they force you to do it anyway. And so with him pledging, there was definite distance between Micah and Kiki. And Kiki probably had gotten used to certain attention from Micah, but he couldn't give her that anymore because he's pledging. So that attention had to come from somewhere else. Couple that with the fact that now that Micah is offline, he's a neo. He's the one of the newest members of the chapter, and so every chick on campus that likes men, and dudes on campus that like men, are going to throw their body parts and all parts of themselves at Micah. They're all going to be at him. And so Kiki has to think about that, the fact that he's going to be getting on hit on left, right, and sideways. Michael has to deal with the fact that she has found other people that can get her attention and make her feel some kind of way as well. So this is an interesting dynamic that we're going to have between them two. I don't know how much of that they're going to explore, because it seems like that's going to be an ancillary part of the plot and not a main part of the plot. But they could go a whole lot of places with that. And then I was like, and then I got confused, but then they clarified later, because I wrote down, doesn't Kiki go to a different school for Michael? Like Kiki goes to Tulane, I thought, and Michael with Xavier. And so the way it kind of looked, it almost seemed like they were at the same school. But then they clarified later and said that yeah, they are still at separate schools, just in the same city. Back at the Klan meeting, the birthday party for White Boy Cop's granddad, his older son comes, and he seems surprised that the older son was there. And the older son was the first one that looked at Nova like, "Girl, I ain't here for you." Nova tried to be nice and say hi. He was like, mm-hmm. Kept it moving. And so Nova was like, "Oh, what was that about?" He was like, he's mad about the divorce. Baby, he looked over, the ex-wife done came. Ex-wife came in the room, in the place, to the house, and the entire atmosphere changed. Baby, she walked over there to Nova. Baby, she basically should have, she didn't say it, but she could have started it off with, "Hey, bitch." Or no, she could have started it off with I'm gonna take this from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, like Jocelyn did uh Mimi, and say, "Hey, maid," because she gave her one of them, "Hey, maid," like, "Girl, oh, you the new one, girl," and she went in on Nova. She tells Nova, "Oh, you happy about breaking up happy homes and taking a man away from his wife? Girl, you happy about being the next one in a long grocery list of dark skinned black women that he seemed to like? You seem a bit skinnier than what he go for. He usually like the thick ones with the big old boongie, not booty, not bootay, boongie, because you got to have a certain size to have a boongie." Okay, girl, it'll be another one after you. She was very disrespectful to Nova, and Nova was about to go there on her, and she caught herself. She said, "Mm-mm." And then the mom came over, and so White Boy Cop starts yelling. White Boy Cop's mom comes and says, "No, I don't want all this loud noise." And Nova's like, "Let's go." But Nova was livid when she left, because she was like, and because she was caught off guard. She clearly did not know that White Boy had dated black girls before. We'll get there in a second. Charlie talks to Micah. She's still on campus with Micah. They have to sit down and they talk. And they talk briefly about the virus and how she's got to meet up with an epidemiologist while she's there to talk about, how serious it is. She asked him if the school, has said anything or taken it serious. He was like, "Nah, everything's good. Ain't no problem. They haven't said anything." And she's like, "Listen, if something happens and they have to shut everything down, you need to come home." Excuse me. And so then we see they discuss him pledging. And they discuss the reputation of the frat that he joined. And then she talks about how they don't have a good reputation. And he talks about how, then she says, "Well, why did you join your father's fraternity?" And she mentions Davis's fraternity. Now, Micah at this point claims that he talked to them and they didn't want him. I believe no parts of that. Being a member of a fraternity, a black Greek letter organization, a BGLO, I can tell you that's not how that goes. First of all, Micah is the son of an NBA player. Everybody on campus knows who the fuck he is. Let's be clear. Especially, remember, his dad had this whole big major scandal that was all over the news and everything. Micah was on the news as well. People know who he is. They know who his dad is. And if his dad is a member of a fraternity and he goes and says, "I want to pledge," or puts in an application or lets them know that he's interested, they're not going to tell him no. First of all, what's going to end up happening is, at the moment that Micah expressed interest, there are going to be phone calls that are going to be made to different people about, all of that, because he's a person of a certain notoriety. His dad is a member, which would, if that fraternity has legacy clause, would make him a legacy for that fraternity. So there's no way, shape, form, or fashion you can make me believe that he truly went and expressed interest in his dad's fraternity and they told him, "We don't want you." Mike is not an intelligent student. He's not somebody. He checks all of the boxes that they would need. I don't buy it. I think he told his mom that to get her off of him, because the other part is, if you want to join a fraternity and they tell you no, if you really love that fraternity or sorority, some people do it. I don't know how, but going and say, "Oh, I'm gonna just play something else," I don't, and I'm not, and I know people who do it, but and I feel like Micah being somebody who seems to be very um sure of himself, and once he kind of makes a decision, you see he's very like, that's what I'm gonna do. He seems like I would be like when I knew what I wanted to pledge. Even if they told me no, there was nowhere in the world I'm going to just go pledge another fraternity and think that I'm have all of my love and you know everything in that frat. That's not what I wanted. That's not where my heart was. So that's why I don't believe none of that. I think he just said this to his mama to get her off his case and to let her know. And I think the real reason is he just wanted to do something on his own without his father's help, without his mother's help, because he wanted to prove I'm a grown man. I can make my own decision for myself. I don't want my decision attached to you, dad, or anything. And that's why he wanted them to come to show them I did this on my own. No, I didn't tell y'all. And this was a big decision, and I wanted to do that. It was a lot there. Um, Micah, then he tells her, listen, I'm a grown man, almost 20. I mean, you but that old, you still a baby. But I'm almost 20 and I don't have to consult you on every decision that I make. That may be true. She don't have to break you off no money either. Whenever you need. I'm just saying, grown men do grown men stuff. Grown men take care of themselves. They don't need nobody else to send them no money or nothing. We'll see how that goes. And Charlie is okay with it. She said, okay, no problem, I got you. Nova talks with White Boy Cop after they left the clan meeting. And she asks him how many black women he's been with because she didn't know this and this, that, and the third. She can't be with someone who objectifies black women and this, that, and the third. Now, wait a minute. Wait, hold the fuck on, Nova. You a whole ass investigative journalist. An investigative journalist who specializes in investigating cases with white cops and the things they do to black people. You do all of this investigating that goes way deep into people's past and histories that most people and journalists can't find. You allowed it for all of the detail and specificities with which you write. And you don't let this man in every cavity and orifice of your body and never looked up his history, looked up his past, did some investigating about who he had been with, asked him, tell me about your last 4 or 5 girlfriends and stuff like that. Asked him, looked up his background. Girl, I don't buy it. Either I don't buy it or girl, that don't even make sense, Nova. At this point, Nova, whereas you can sometimes be so intelligent, you seem like one of the dumbest people. Just like last season, you made that dumb decision about writing a book and thought that was going to work out well. Now you have made the stupid decision of being with somebody and have no idea about their past, no idea what they were into, no idea. Because you could be just like the ex-wife said, another line on the grocery list of dark-skinned black women. Because she made the point to say dark-skinned black women. Now all of a sudden you're gonna see Nova probably the next couple of episodes going on all of these, wild goose chases, chasing around, see if she can find out all of the black women that he's been with. Girl, boom. You should have did that before you let him in your body. Anyway, Micah and Kiki are studying. This is what we're reminded that Kiki goes to another school. Same city though. He talks to her about dancing with the girls at the probate. She was like, I ain't sweating that. I know you're in a frat now. Y'all do certain things. It don't bother me. I know that you good. He asked her about the dude that he saw her talking to. She tries to downplay it. But Mama ran off a whole list of things that she knew about him that you only learn if you done spent some real quality one-on-one time with people. I looked at her like, now Kiki girl, I believe you if you trying to make this seem like it ain't a big deal. Oh, you done spent time with old boy. Oh, you an old boy that been in each other's mugs and grill. Micah, you in danger. You in danger. Old boy might already be beating that box in because she's a young woman of a certain young age, and that young woman probably need her guts beat in, and old boy is probably spanking it down, slap it, flip it, and rub it down. Anyway, there's a problem there. There's a real problem there. Darla and Ralph Angel are riding in the truck or whatever, and the radio is on. This new news broadcast comes on about the pandemic and how bad it seems like it's going to be. So Darla talks to him about it, and Ralph Angel just turns the station. I don't really want to talk about that. And Darla's like, listen, if it's as serious as they say it is, we really need to think about how it could affect the older people in St. Joe, like Mr. Prosper and everybody. She was like, I hope it doesn't come to St. Joe. And he was like, nah, everything good. We gonna be fine. He ain't coming all the way down here. And then she was like, yeah, because imagine if something happens to Mr. Prosper and everything. So a lot of foreshadowing here. This is the second time I done seen some foreshadowing to Mr. Prosper. Charlie is at home and is getting messages on her phone about an emergency meeting conference call that she has to have with statewide officials and the CDC to discuss the pandemic. We then see this beautiful moment. Most people won't say it was beautiful, but this was my favorite moment of the episode. Darla is in the mirror. She's giving herself these affirmations about um the fact that the person she's going to go interview with needs her and she's the right person for the job. Really looking in the mirror and honing in on perfecting how she wants to behave, how she's going to carry herself, the mechanism and manner in which she's going to go into this interview. And I found it so reassuring because I remember, especially in my early 20s and in my teens, I was very tentative about myself. I was very self-conscious about everything about who I was. And there were these times where I was always thrust in a leadership position or in positions where I had to be in front of people, this, that, and the third, even when I started teaching. And I would often spend hours in the mirror practicing and perfecting how I wanted to talk or perfecting how I wanted to look or how I wanted to carry myself or behave and telling myself, you got this, you're great. No one can do this the way you can, telling myself all of these affirmations that I needed to hear myself say. It's something if someone else tells you that. It's another thing where you can really accept yourself for who you are and affirm you. You can affirm you. Whereas somebody else has to affirm who you are. Because it's one thing for Ralph Angel to keep saying, "Oh, you're great, boo. I love you. You got this. This yours." It's another thing, and you see her crying and the tears coming out, and there's just I felt like it was just washing away of that tentativeness and the self consciousness that she was feeling, where she was really getting a hold of, okay, I got this, and I really loved seeing that because it just reminded me of myself going through that a lot. We then see Charlie on the conference call with the state officials and the CDCs, and they're going through all of the rundowns, everything that this virus is going to mean, and everything. And what I noted was that they talked a lot on that conference call about things that the media wasn't saying. And this is mid-March when things first started to shake down. They were giving a lot of facts and things that you weren't hearing in the media. And it made me think, I bet a lot of local officials and state officials and national officials we're getting good, sound, scientific information that just wasn't being relayed to the general public at that time. Um, she is then made aware of how it's going to affect the citizens of St. Joe. And she asked him, but is it just going to be the older people? And the lady was like, this is affecting all ages. It's not just older people. And so you see Hollywood in that vibe. Hollywood done fixed up the spot. The shit is beautiful. Y'all know y'all know what Hollywood gives. Hollywood had done fixed it up. When I tell you it was nice, it was nice. I ain't gonna lie. Bro did that. So then Vi comes and they have this beautiful moment where they're kind of reenacting when they first met or their first date or whatever it was. Vi gets this call from Charlie. Hollywood is like, she answers. She's like, Vi's like, can I call you back? Because she was like, it's serious. So, and then we see Nova. They cut away to Nova and White Boy Cop watching the news and talking about Trump's response and how he is downplaying the virus and what it is and the effects. And White Boy is immediately aligning himself with thinking that Trump is right. And she was like, this clown is got it all wrong. He doesn't read briefers. He's a known liar. And it's so amazing that for her to be this intellect, you align yourself with someone who seems to be so counter to how you feel, so counter to what your line of thinking is. And it just doesn't. I know there's this whole thing of not opposites attract, but the opposite ideologies don't attract like that. Opposite ways of thinking don't attract like that. Yeah. Anyway, we then see this closing montage of everybody listening as Charlie is on the phone with Aunt Vi. She's going through all of the things that she's learned about the virus and how it can and will affect St. Joe. And everybody is, you see all of the different members of the cast, and they are in their various spaces as you're listening to Charlie during this closing montage go over everything. And she tells Aunt Vi, listen, you're gonna have to close down Vice Pies for a couple weeks. And that's really, if we are, it's so funny watching this, going back and watching and seeing. And I love that we get to, this is something where you kind of see how people were really dealing with it, and we all lived through it. So it's not like we're watching something in the past history where we weren't there. We were all there. We all lived through it, and it takes you back to how we were thinking at that time and where our mind was, how we thought, oh, give it a couple weeks, it'll be over, and we're still here a year later. So that was so interesting. I love how they did that closing montage, and then and the last thing you see is Vi and Hollywood at the diner, and they're putting a sign on there, and this is mid March, right? Oh, Vi's Pies is closing until April 1st, like 2 weeks later. We all know that ain't gonna happen. It goes on from there. God, I had a lot to say about this episode. I know this is long. It's probably longer than the damn episode, but I had a lot of commentary. I'm spent now. I'm spent. I done said a lot. I done said a lot, but like I said earlier, y'all get in the comment section. Let's talk about this. Let's comment. Let's talk about what we saw. That's all I got for y'all. Thank y'all for coming. Y'all drive safely. Until next week, I'm out.